I support students being able to afford college and anything that helps students, but I cannot support my opponent's plan to ruin our education system. I will begin with my off case, then move on to the on case. Disadvantage 1. Reducing the cost of college will decrease the quality of education. Subpoint A. Colleges are currently at their limit. Subpoint 1. Students already struggle taking all the classes they need and end up being waitlisted. According to collegedata.com in 2020, a 2019 survey from the National Association of College Admissions Counseling, NACAC, 43% of four-year colleges reported using a waitlist in 2018. They also continue to talk about how not all the 43% are accepted. With that said, you can easily understand that colleges are already at their limit. Subpoint 2, some colleges provide smaller classes for a more effective learning environment. According to NCTE on April 1st, 2014, overall research shows that students in smaller classes perform better in all subjects and on all assessments when compared to their peers in larger classes. In smaller classes, students tend to be as much as 1 to 2 months ahead in content knowledge, and they score higher on standardized tests. If college prices are reduced, more students may attend college, ruining the effective learning style. Subpoint B. The plan reduces the cost of college. Subpoint C. Colleges will provide less for students. Subpoint 1. Students will get stuck on waitlists and not be able to take classes that are needed. Subpoint 2. Students will lose one-on-one professor time due to the increase in student population. Subpoint 3. Colleges may cut some financial aid. Now I'm going to be moving on to the on-case argument. Turn to observation 1, resolution 1 analysis. Point A, I agree with the definitions my opponent has provided for the terms college and tuition. Point B, policy case applies. For point C, net benefits apply. Turn to contention 1, students will have an easier access to higher education. Subpoint C, my opponent explains that students with financial issues can easily go to college, get a degree, and provide for the family. To this I have two responses. My first response is that colleges have a limit to their capacity, and the lowered college costs my opponent wants will cause an overflow of students, making getting into college even harder than it is. My second response is that a degree doesn't guarantee a job. According to Undercover Recruiter, in 2020, 66% of employees are hired on experience over academics. My opponent's point is completely wrong because school will be harder to get into, and degrees aren't even preferred over experience. Now we move on to contention 2. Reducing the cost of college can help low-income students attend. Subpoint C, where my student explains that only wealthy and privileged attend college. To this I have one response. According to Pew Research Center on May 23rd, 2019, overall number of undergraduates at U.S. colleges and universities has increased during the past 20 years, with students of color and those from low-income families making up much of that growth. More low-income students are already able to attend college than before, with financial aid and grants helping them. Now on to contention 3, subpoint A. My opponent explains that free tuition would give students the freedom to choose the school right for them. To this I have one response. Colleges would be harder to get into because of the high intake of students colleges would have to deal with. So colleges would be over their capacity and would have to start rejecting students. In my opponent's plan, she states the government will pay for her plan. To this, I have two responses. My first response, according to New York Times on July 19, 2019, eliminating tuition at all public colleges and universities will cost at least $79 billion a year, according to the most recent Department of Education data. And taxpayers will need to foot the bill. My second response is that schools could hike up their prices even more, making the government pay even more money than they would already have to. The government will not be able to pay for everyone's tuition fees because it just simply costs too much. Now on to my opponent's advantage, subpoint B. My opponent explains that students will be able to choose a college and major. To this I have two responses. First, students would have trouble finding a college that isn't full. Second, students would have a hard time choosing the required classes due to the wait list with the schools overflowing. A tuition-free college would just make finishing school harder for the students. For my opponent's advantage, Subpoint C, she explains that America's future will be even more educated. To this, I have one response. America's future will be less educated, actually, due to the low quality classes that students will be taking, and students will not be able to attend college due to that capacity limit being met and probably overflowing at that point.